Brahms. The Boy 2 is the sequel to the moderate success that was The Boy that came out in 2016, directed by William Brent Bell. It was distributed by STX Films, and it's once again distributed by them, and it's from that same director and the same writer as that first film. This time it's focusing on a brand new family. The mom, Liza, is played by Katie Holmes. You have a dad named Sean, and their young boy is named Jude. And they're living a great life together. They're so happy. They're just the most picture-perfect family that you could imagine. But one night, a random senseless burglary happens at their house, and it affects their young son immensely. He can't even talk now. He's been so traumatized by the beatings of his mom by these burglars. So the dad suggests that maybe it'll be a good idea for all of the family to move out to a different place away from the city. So they decide to buy this house that is right next door to the Hillshire mansion that was the main place that the first boy was taking place. And out in the middle of the woods that connect those two properties, the young boy Jude finds the doll, the boy Brahms, buried in the ground. And then of course as soon as he brings the doll back, things start to get weird, but at least he's talking now, so that's better for the family. But oh no, spooky doll stuff is happening too. If you actually want to dare and go find my 2016 Jackson review of The Boy, you actually can. I did see that film in theaters and I thought it was okay. It was an interesting premise, a really neat idea for a horror film, just done with some really poor execution and a twist that makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense when you want to analyze certain other details about it. But overall, it wasn't a terrible film. It's a film that I've actually put on in the background in my house at least a couple times ever since it's come out, because it's just one of those movies that I can just have on, and it's alright, but I can have it on in the background while I'm doing other things. My opinion has stayed the same on that movie ever since I've seen it in theaters, though, so there's really no, like, change into, like, you know what, I'm a big fan of this movie, or I really hate it now. It's always in the middle. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look in the middle. This looks like hot garbage. Oh my gosh. It already looked like they were gonna retcon certain other things that happened in the first movie. So automatically I was like, this is gonna go like full stupid. I am so there for that, because if a horror movie is bad, that's really boring. But if a horror movie is really stupid while it's being bad, like a Truth or Dare, for instance, I am all there for it. Other examples include Wish Upon or The Bye Bye Man. So I actually kind of walked into this film kind of excited to see it, just in the fact that I was really hoping for like another horror guilty pleasure out there, because the director of Truth or Dare's Disappointment Fantasy Island was not as guilty pleasure as I kind of wanted. Unfortunately though, guys, I can't really say that this is a fun, stupid horror movie. It is actually quite boring, quite tedious, quite generic. One of the worst horror films I've seen in recent memory. It's not even funny bad. Oh my god, it does get stupid though. The minute the movie opens up and Katie Holmes walks in and her mouth is kind of like profiled, her face is profiled, but it doesn't look like her mouth is moving to say Jude, but you hear her say Jude and then they repeat it again. The fact that you had like that obvious of dubbing in the first couple minutes of the movie, I just instantly was like, oh god, the filmmaking that was alright in the first movie is not going to carry over here, is it? And it really didn't. There are other times where it feels like there's obvious audio dubbing going on, mostly with Katie Holmes. A couple minutes after that, my fears of the bad filmmaking were confirmed when we actually see the burglary attack scene take place, and it's so poorly done. Like, there's like this monstrous shadow of the guy just like standing in the background at one point, not even doing anything. And then of course it just jump scares Katie Holmes, and there's just shaky cam editing as far as like what's going on. It's like, oh my god, I can't take this right now. And there are other examples later on in the film where the filmmaking gets kind of bad, particularly during anything scary. There's always a loud sound effect to accompany a false jump scare or a dream sequence, a very, very bad dream sequence. There are many of those in this film, and there are dream sequences in the first Boy movie, and I was not a fan of those either. And I feel like a lot of people's complaints were, yeah, those dream sequences were really unnecessary and just stupid jump scares. So why the same creative team decided to do those again, even after hearing the criticisms of it, I have no idea. What's even more baffling about this movie, considering it's the same creative team, isn't just the fact that the directing isn't even on the same level as the first movie, in particular the horror sequences, but also the story. It doesn't even hold continuity with the other film. And it really does feel like that some people that saw The Boy, but didn't really study The Boy enough, like they had it on the background, like, oh, this is kind of okay. They just started to write a sequel, and then STX just picked it up and didn't really care. Because this movie doesn't really line up with the events that happened in the first movie. It's one of those things where they're trying to insert like, yeah, while this was going on, this was also going on. But when you really analyze what was really going on, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't line up well. If they wanted to create the same exact story just like with a different horror story, like if it wasn't connected to the boy, then all right, cool, go ahead and do that. But it is connected to the boy. They have an established mythology to it, and they're trying to add more to it, make it more scary. But not only is it really generic what they add, like just the very basic, like kid wants to kill the family and there's demons talking to it. It's very, very lame. But it also just proves that this creative team, it's almost as if they didn't go back to look at what they made themselves. Because if you didn't see the boy, you probably wouldn't be thinking like, oh, that doesn't make sense. But if you've seen the boy, even if it's been a while, there's one thing that's going to stick out about what happened in that movie. And when you see the reveals they make here, it's going to make you think, oh yeah, they just didn't care enough to go back and check what happened before. And to make matters even worse, even when they're retconning, they're not even really introducing something creative and new to take its place. It's not really trying to be a reboot of it, you know what I mean? Like, even though it's called Brahms the Boy 2, maybe it was trying to just redo everything that happened before. But they call back specific details about what happened in the first movie, so it still, once again, doesn't hold up. It falters completely. I cannot understand the logic of trying to make this movie the way it was, especially since the few fans that the boy has, you're gonna turn them off from this movie completely because you're retroactively undoing what made that first movie so special. Now there's like a new, like if you go back and watch the first movie again after this, you're gonna start thinking about what this movie reveals, and you're just gonna think, no, that it doesn't fit here at all. Why did they try to insert what? Why? I also feel like they don't really remember what Brahms was all about in the first movie either. In this one, he's like whispering to the kid, like, we'll be together forever, we're gonna be best friends. If anyone gets in our way, I'll kill them for you, like really violent and grisly. But in the first movie, he wasn't whispering to Lauren Cohan, like, we're gonna be together forever, and if anyone gets in the way, I'm gonna kill them, like really hitting it all the time. Like, Lauren Cohan didn't hear voices the way this kid is hearing voices. He wanted someone to take care of him. Like, he had a list of rules, and if you followed them and took care of Brahms, then he was all good. And Lauren Cohan was his caretaker in that movie, and he just wanted Lauren Cohan to take care of him. Don't be freaked out, I'm just a playful little boy. That's why I took your shoes, because I'm a playful little boy. Just take care of me, please. He wasn't always going, by the way, if you slip up, I'm gonna murder you. We're gonna merge souls together, which is something that is brought up later in this movie. There's like one moment where Brahms is like pulling like a playful trick like he did in the first movie, where he turns on the TV and Katie Holmes comes in. It's like, Jude, why'd you turn on the TV? And he's like, I didn't do that, that was Brahms. And it was like, oh, okay. But every other thing that Brahms does that people notice in the house, it doesn't really fall in line with what Brahms had done before in the other films. So it really does make me think, they don't remember. Do they not remember what happened in the first movie? To be honest, since it's from the director of The Devil Inside, a movie that was really awful, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the kind of guy who would forget what happened in his other films. I guess it's time to talk about the acting. Because Lauren Cohan was surprisingly good in The First Boy, I was kind of like really hoping that Katie Holmes could at least be good in this movie, and unfortunately I didn't think that at all. The opening scene with her and Jude and FaceTiming the dad, it was just so corny as far as their acting goes, because they're playing up the happiness too much, and even later when the drama kicks in, they skip over a lot of stuff and don't really emphasize a lot of the meat that this drama could have had. Because she's also suffering from some PTSD stuff, but after a while that just kind of feels like it's taking a back seat to everything else going on with Brahms and Jude. And the husband, unlike Gabriel Byrne in like Hereditary, where he's trying to keep everything normal, but everything is going wrong with his family life, so there are just moments where he just has to cry in his car like it's really getting to him. He just seems like he's unchanged by everything. Like, something weird will happen, he's like, oh, I'll deal with this right now. But then like the next scene you see from him, it doesn't seem like anything is really affecting him. It just seems like, well, now I'm placed in this scene and let's go. Like, I'm refreshed. There are moments in this movie where something will happen and then they'll just cut away and jump ahead to something else. And when you're thinking like, what was the resolution here? How did you talk your way out of this situation, or what happened here? They just cut ahead. Like, don't even think about it. Just keep going. We got to keep this plot going. Keep it under an hour and a half. These characters obviously make really stupid choices, like moments where Katie Holmes should probably lay the law down a lot more or run out to intervene when something bad's about to happen. She doesn't. She just kind of sits back and doesn't really do anything that a real person would do, or the movie doesn't really convince you that her behavior is natural to her character. Just you're just kind of left wondering, like, why are you doing this? And the same thing with the husband. Like, there's a rule that Brahms and even Jude is like emphasizing, like, no guests allowed, don't invite the family over, the cousins and the uncle, and then he just lets them come over anyways. Like, he's noticing some fucked up shit happened before, between the conversation of no guests allowed and inviting them over, but he still decides, let's just bring them over. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. It'll be good for Jude. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't know if you've seen in the trailer, but the little tug of war match gone wrong between him and his cousin, like, yeah, that's the result. And it's like, oh, you have only yourself to blame, Sean, the dad. Ralph Ineson is obviously a really great actor, and for a while, he was my only positive with the movie. It was like, okay, he's the only one who seems like he's actually trying with his performance. Maybe there's something interesting with his character that we can explore. Okay, let's see where this goes. And then at one point, his character just flips on a dime and becomes just fully stupid. His performance got crazier, but at the same time, his screen time got really limited too, so it's not like you really got to enjoy what he was offering, because there was one thing he did with, like, his mouth that was just so random. I was like, oh my god, that's really goofy, but it's really short-lived. And also, it makes his character worse, because what they reveal is so dumb, and it falls in line with what I've said before about this movie not following up with its continuity from the first movie. They also just give this character the stupidest reveal possible. Maybe if this movie actually took the time to develop its story, make it actually smarter, and have it fall in line in some way, or if this was like an original property, not connected to the boy, it's a new thing, then maybe it could have worked. But once you watch how his character plays out, it just instantly reminds you, like, this is too stupid. I literally can't have this in this movie right now. I cannot go through this. Later on in the movie, characters just kind of randomly pop up, like, without either a trace of, like, them coming up, like, from afar, or just without you wondering, like, how did you know to come here? Or how did you get here so quickly? How? This movie ends in a way that hints at a sequel, but I saw the reveal coming a mile away. I was like, bro, I know exactly what kind of twist you're gonna pull. Just stop. Don't do this. But they did it. And walking out of the theater, the only other person there, like a lady, was like walking out in front of me, and she turned to me and was like, I guess we can expect a sequel. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I guess we can. It seems like it. And look, making a sequel to The Boy with this plot is really dumb, but if they had just made it stupid fun, then I would have been like, you know what? Bring on The Boy 3. I am so for it. But because it was just so generic and just kind of boring throughout it, it's filled with false jump scares or dream sequence scares that after a while it's just like, bro, stop with the dream sequences. Why did you even bring them back from the first movie? It's like, I can't really enjoy this, especially since the acting, it doesn't feel like these characters actually mean anything to these actors. It doesn't feel like they're trying. There's not enough meat to their bones. Nothing about this movie is connecting. I was not really expecting this movie to frustrate me as much as it did, a sequel that honestly I could care less about other than it just being a stupid fun horror movie, but because it wasn't a stupid fun horror movie, that's what's really kind of irking me the most. Because now I'm just stuck with this boring movie that a lot of details I'll probably forget about in the next couple days. Oh well. I'm gonna give Brahms The Boy 2 an F. This is so far the worst movie I have seen in these 2 months of film releases. It's so bad, so unscary, so poorly acted, poorly scripted, poorly directed. If you're a fan of the first Boy, expect none of the good things about that movie to appear in this one. It is nothing but hot garbage. But if you've seen Brahms The Boy 2, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.